chestnut roasting, Jack Frost nipping at your nose. So I'm offering.
What is going on, YouTube? I'd like to welcome you guys back to Red's World. Today I'm going to be trying to make a list to help everyone go video game shopping for the holidays. So basically I'm just going to be making a top 10 list for games to buy this holiday season. Whether you're on PC, console, whatever, we're going to touch on a little bit of everything. And then I'll throw a couple honorable mentions in there. So number one, right off the bat, we got number 10. Number 10 is going to be Immortals Fenyx Rising. Immortals Fenyx Rising does something that a lot of these games don't do, and that's creating a completely unique experience. Now, you could say it has some similarities to, say, Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Legend of Zelda or something along those lines, but if you're thinking about the fact that I just said Assassin's Creed and Zelda together, that's not something that we've played before. But it's also got a lot of powers and funny narratives, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the game. I don't think it's for everybody, but I do think if you can get into, The Legend of Zelda, and you can get more into games like Assassin's Creed, I think Immortals Fenyx Rising is a fantastic game for you. There are a lot of puzzles and a lot of exploring and things like that, so if you don't like wasting your time with a lot of things like that, probably not the game for you, but I definitely think it's solid. Number 9. We got a game that's been out for a long time, but I feel it's heavily slept on. Deep Rock Galactic. Now, Deep Rock Galactic is a 4-player co-op, dungeon crawling. It's almost got some similarities of like Left 4 Dead, as well as maybe something that's like GTFO or something like that. I don't know if you guys have played any of these games. But basically, you and a couple of other miners with different classes, different gear, different perks, so on and so forth, you go in and you're trying to gather resources and things like that, find secrets, and then you extract once you're done. Now, simplified, it sounds, kind of standard, but to be honest, this is one of the best experiences that's been delivered as far as uniqueness, and there's tons and tons of progress to be made. I've played it a lot with my friends. I've done a lot of the deep dives and things like that and continue leveling up my classes. It's a game that just keeps giving. Even if you take a break from it or something, when you come back, it's so exciting. It's so cool to play with friends. Deep Rock Galactic is a game I highly recommend. If I'm not mistaken, it's on the Game Pass for PC and Xbox. So if you do have the Game Pass, I highly recommend going and checking it out. And next we got number 8, and that's going to be Spider-Man Miles Morales. Well, Spider-Man is not, in my opinion, a mind-blowing game. It's not a game that you're going to play, and if you're a gamer who's been gaming forever, you're not going to play Spider-Man and just have the best experience you've ever had. But what it does do, it does well. It's a good superhero game. You feel like Spider-Man. It's beautiful. Some of the narratives are really funny. There are some repetitive mechanics and things like that, but if you find yourself loving, the hero games, this is right up your alley. Like I said, not mind-blowing, but they're really good games, really good superhero games. Definitely check those out. But next I got Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time. I assume if you're watching this video about video games, you know what Crash Bandicoot is. And for me, I've been a Crash fan since I was a kid. I remember playing it with my cousins, my mom, like everyone played Crash. And, if you didn't, that's not to exclude you or anything, but most people played Crash. It was incredible at the time that it came out, and for, almost a decade or two, we didn't have a Crash game in the mainline series. Now, there were a couple, side projects that weren't that good that came out. Not only does it go back to everything that's classic, but it's inventive. It brings new things to the table that make sense. It feels like it should have been there the whole time. Playing without them starts to feel weird. There's a bunch of interwoven puzzles and a bunch of things you got to figure out as well, and there's a lot of challenges. There's multiplayer modes, but it's not, online co-op or something like that. It's just kind of like a pass the controller mode and stuff. So if you're in a house full of kids, they like platformers, if they die, the next person gets their turn, things like that. It keeps things in check like that. But Crash 4 is an absolutely fabulous game. If you like 3D platformers, definitely pick up Crash. Next, we got a game that has taken the world by storm. At number 6, we have Phasmophobia. Now, I would say Among Us is in this list as well, but Among Us is free on the phone, and if you don't have a PC, you can't buy it right now. I think it actually just came to Switch, so if you could get it on the Switch, definitely check out Among Us. But Phasmophobia and Among Us have taken the world by storm. Phasmophobia is an incredible game. I think it's a game that a lot of people have wanted for a long time. Being able to hunt ghosts with your friends in a way that's, it does get a little repetitive, but as far as the experience at first, the first time you walk in the house, the first time you're figuring it all out, I mean, it's good. It's really good. I hope they continue to add to it, which I'm sure they will. And I really hope that they find ways to keep it innovative and original. But for right now, Phasmophobia is incredible. There's a couple things that I really love about the game. One of the things that I love the most about the game is the voice recognition. So if you didn't know this, Phasmophobia actually has voice recognition. Now, it's only available on PC, but what I mean by voice recognition is it literally hears you. So when you say the ghost's name, or you say things like, "Are you here with me?" or "How old are you?" it can respond. And you can anger it, and it can tell where you're at just by you talking. Now you're freaked out because you're being responded to. It sets such an immersive tone. Definitely check out Phasmophobia. It's a fantastic game. If you like ghosts, paranormal things like that, it's perfect for you. I promise you, you'll love it. Again, it's only available on PC. At number 5, we have a game called Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima is a game that's been out for a little while now. Not everybody has had an opportunity to play it. If you play on any other consoles or whatever, it's unfortunate. Ghost of Tsushima is a treat. For one, it's one of the best games that's come out this generation. It does a really good job setting the tone for, samurais and stealth combat. The hand-to-hand or blade-to-blade, whatever you want to call it, combat is incredible. The responsiveness is incredible. If this game wasn't as good as it was, I probably wouldn't put it on this list because it's been out for a little while. But if you haven't played it, pick it up this holiday season. It's also gotten online, so you can now play online with some of your friends and take on challenges. I haven't checked out the online, so I can't tell you whether or not that's good. But the single player will keep you busy for a while. Beautiful game. It's a masterpiece. So definitely check out Ghost of Tsushima. At number 4, we have Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Now, Call of Duty has been having issues since its launch. There were a lot of, glitches that were happening, including bricking people's consoles, which if you don't want to have a risk of bricking your console, which in other words, breaking, I would say maybe keep an eye out for updates. I can't say for sure if it's clear or not, but I will say this. What I've played of Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War is a fantastic game. Call of Duty always gets hype, so, your kids or yourself, you're going to be able to play with friends. You're going to be able to play this campaign. There's going to be Warzone. They're going to continue updating in the game. And, essentially you're going to get your money's worth. However, if it does break your console, it's probably not worth. But, I've played it a couple times. It hasn't had issues. So outside of just the game crashing, hasn't really had too many issues. But Call of Duty is a good one. It's Call of Duty. If you're not a Call of Duty fan, don't buy it. It's the same exact thing as always. But, it's a solid game. At number 3, we have Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Now, this is not a game that I expected to put on this list. I love Assassin's Creed. I've loved Assassin's Creed since the original Desmond Miles trilogy. I haven't been the biggest fan of most of the games recently. I've played all of them. They didn't retain me. I didn't want to continue to play them. I think they were improvements in a lot of ways, but they just didn't draw me in. So where I felt the improvements, I still didn't want to play the game. Assassin's Creed Valhalla does everything that you want it to. Compelling story, improvements everywhere. Visually looks incredible. There's so many mini games. There's so many quality of life improvements. The map is better. I mean, everything about Assassin's Creed Valhalla is an improvement on the previous Assassin's Creed games. And on top of that, it's just beautiful. The games have always been beautiful, but, there's not much that I can really say bad about the new Assassin's Creed. So definitely check that out if you get an opportunity to. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is a very good game. If you're into RPGs, open world games, things like that, definitely check that game. At number 2, we got a controversial game, Cyberpunk 2077. Now I want to say this, full disclaimer. CD Projekt Red, the developers of Cyberpunk, have said that they will issue a refund to anyone who has trouble with these games. Now, look into that yourself. Don't take my word for it. There's a lot of stuff going on with the game. Apparently on the PS4 and the Xbox One, the game isn't running the greatest. There's allegedly a lot of bugs. Now, I can tell you firsthand, I've played Cyberpunk 2077 on the Xbox Series X. It has been perfect. I've had no issues at all. I'm not trying to, make the game out to be better than it seems. Don't buy it, come back and say, hey, you lied. That shit's terrible. Hey, it's been good for me. Cyberpunk is a fantastic game, a really immersive world. There are things that I feel need to be tweaked, but as far as, just the base game, the story and everything like that, absolutely incredible so far. Cyberpunk is available on all platforms except Switch, I believe, which I can't even imagine how bad that would play. But if you have a next-gen console or you have a PC, pick up Cyberpunk 2077. I would advise staying away from it for a PS4 and Xbox One for now, just on the simple fact that a lot of people have hated it. But if you do have a next-gen console or plan on getting one, definitely get Cyberpunk 2077. It's a really good game. Number 1 is NBA 2K21 Next Gen. Now, I will say this. NBA 2K has had a very up and down decade. The games have done tremendous things. They've brought new things in with the My Career and being able to play in the park and, online with your friends and have these crazy different builds and stuff. But as well as just the regular play now exhibition matches, the My GM, the career modes, there's so many things. Now they've also added, the WNBA, which is women's basketball, and you can play a My Career in there. You can't bring female My Career characters into the park or anything, which is kind of weird, but I think they'll work that out next year. But I gotta say, I've been a fan of NBA 2K since Dreamcast. And, I hate to fall in the stereotype of people who play FIFA and Madden. These sports games are pretty much the same thing every year. And that's why I put this game at number 1. Because for once, one of these sports games has completely broken the cycle. NBA 2K21 for next gen is unbelievable. The builds are better. The gameplay is phenomenal. I mean, it's a completely different game than everything that we've been playing for a decade. There's still issues. It's still a sports game, but you don't get online experiences that are competitive as sports games, in my opinion, unless it's an esports game where it's like Overwatch or, a shooter game, even potentially Call of Duty or something can be super competitive. But the thing is with a game like 2K, you can actually coordinate with the team and even go as far as to get drafted into the NBA 2K League and play for a team. So, I mean, there's a lot of depth to it, but, I gotta say, as someone who plays sports games, they have been really bad for the last decade. All of last gen. The fighting games were terrible. We haven't had a good fight night or anything like that. The UFC games were horrible. I played them, but they were terrible. Madden hasn't been good in over a decade. NCAA football still hasn't returned. FIFA is meh. And Pro Evolution Soccer is pretty solid, but I'm not a big soccer fan. So being able to play a game like 2K that brings life into sports again and just does a really good job of creating an in-depth experience for anyone. You don't have to play online. You could go play versus, computer and play and build your team up and things like that. Like, there's so many different things that you could do, including, just playing my team and stuff. Some people like collecting the cards and trying to build up their own team and stuff. So I personally think NBA 2K21 has got to be one of my highest rated games this year. I think it's fantastic. I think anyone who's into sports can play it, even if you're not into sports and you kind of like, hey, I could go to the park and play some basketball. I don't watch the NBA, but I could kind of get into a pickup game. Play 2K. Play with your friends. Get together. Have them help you make a build and everything. You're going to have a lot of fun with it. It's a fantastic game. But before we end this, I do want to say I got a couple more honorable mentions. These are games that I feel didn't make the list per se, or maybe they're, not something that I would want to take a spot for. Number one, Rainbow Six Siege. Rainbow Six is a game that's been out for a long time, so I didn't want to put it on that list. But if you haven't played Rainbow Six, buy it. It's a really good shooter game. Next, I have Watch Dogs Legion. If you haven't played Watch Dogs Legion and you're a Watch Dogs fan, you'll love it. If you're not a fan of the previous Watch Dogs, I feel you'll be able to enjoy Watch Dogs Legion. It's a very different experience entirely, just building up your team and roaming around with the beautiful graphics and stuff. There's a lot of things that go on in the game that it still feels like Watch Dogs, but they reformulated the formula and they made it a pretty solid experience. But I wouldn't necessarily put it in my top 10 for this holiday, but it is enjoyable. It's a beautiful game. And, as far as I'm concerned, the story's pretty interesting so far. I have not beat it. Maybe if I played more into it, it'd make my top 10. I'm not sure. But next, I have Squad. If you don't have Squad yet, Squad is a very tactical shooter game on PC. Very good game. Check that one out. And the last thing that I want to mention is Xbox Game Pass. If you're on PC or on Xbox, buy the Xbox Game Pass. At this point, you're robbing yourself if you don't. There's so many good games on there. So many games come out on Game Pass at launch. It's genuinely a disservice to yourself if you don't have Game Pass at this point. If you're on PlayStation, the Play Now is nowhere near as good as Game Pass, just to be honest, but it's a decent service. But if you have the opportunity to get Xbox Game Pass, buy it. You can have so many games right off the bat without, say you get a next-gen console, you don't have any games. Xbox Game Pass. Everything on there you could download and play instantly. Fantastic games. I mean, it doesn't get much better than the Game Pass when it comes to services. And if you buy the premium, you get gold tied in it. You save $5, and you get some, extra perks and things like that. But definitely check out Xbox Game Pass this holiday season if you're on PC or on Xbox. But with that being said, that's my top 10 games for this holiday. If you guys have a difference of opinion or think that I'm stupid or anything like that, leave a comment down below and let me know. Anything that you guys think, let me know your list down in the comments, so on and so forth. Thank you guys for coming to Red's World. Stay tuned for more to come soon. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. I show the pain in the people we paint in the pavement, pour blood on the precipice. I can tell what you are thinking, we're breaking and caving in all of the relevant media sources, cross swords with the forces and forces.